Hi there. Today we're going to discuss a classic combative strike, the Axehand. Now, previously, in fact, I think it was the first technique video we did, we covered the short Axehand with Dropstep. So today we're going to look at all the different types of Axehand and how they're used. The Axehand is sometimes called a knife hand or the edge of hand blow, and it's a technique which dates back centuries. Some medieval and Renaissance texts actually demonstrate this technique, but it was really during World War II that it became prominent in the public mind, and particularly with the works of Fairbairn. And later, when I started karate, we used what was called stoj, the knife hand strike, quite a bit, particularly in kata and in prearranged drills. However, in sparring competitions, you don't really see it used that much. So it's kind of a neglected technique. And it was when I started researching various forms of unarmed close combat, particularly the World War II era, that I realized the importance of it. And I was actually taught the short and the long Axehand combination by the late Bob Casper when he came over to the UK. So I owe him for that particular technique. So the types of strike, the short Axehand is a snapping type, which is delivered at very close range and retracts to a cover position, as you will see. The long Axehand is like chopping down a tree. The name suggests the axe, and it goes through the target, or you're aiming through the target in a big arc. We also have the vertical Axehand, which is a type of long Axehand, which we will also be discussing. Body dynamics. The short Axehand is delivered with the drop step, which derived from the Fitzsimmons killer shift in boxing, and it's a way of transferring power without actually having to step forward, and it is very, very useful for close range techniques. And the short Axehand is actually the vehicle where you learn the drop step and you can then apply it to other techniques, forms of elbow, for example. Usually with the long Axehand, it's a chamber technique using body torque. The power of the hip, the pelvis turned by the major muscles of the legs, driving the weapon in an arc through the target. And again, can be used with other striking weapons. I do intend to put together a video just on body dynamics, and we will talk in proper detail on these and other forms of developing shock impact. Okay, so we're going to look at quite a few aspects of the Axehand combinations, conditioning and so on. So let's begin. Okay, punching is basically directed to the center line of the target in front of you. So whether it's a jab, a cross, a hook, a low hook, an uppercut, it's all directed on, even though it might hit the outside, you're trying to direct your energy. So it's all in that zone, that frontal zone. That's for close fist punching. And you need good hand-eye coordination to accurately punch. Okay, so punching is all in the frontal zone, but with the open hand strikes, particularly the axe hand, you can strike to the sides at a wide arc here, okay? So you don't need that precise hand-eye coordination. You don't even need to look, you can just strike, okay? So that's one of the differences. Okay, the vertical axe hand can be used against a limb that's grabbing you or is holding a weapon, or it can be used against the body. For example, if someone's bent over, you can use it against the back of the neck, the center of the spine, the kidney, and so on. Okay, now in keeping with the normal combative principles, we use a short movement. Okay, so I'm not going to go like this, I'm just going to do it from here. Try to develop power in a short action. And the technique is a hammering action, sinking it into the target. Okay, if I was hammering a nail, I wouldn't bounce it, I'd sink it into the target. And also drop your weight, bend your knees and drop your weight. Okay, so okay, this is a combination of the short axe hand and the long axe hand. So we strike with the short axe hand, we come back to this protected position in case he throws a reflexive strike, and then we use a big hip action and do the long axe hand and use this cover position, yeah? So you can do it from the thinker, or you can do it from arms folded, not crossed, yeah? Okay, combination technique based on the vertical axe hand. So we start with the vertical strike, and then we kind of use the momentum to go into a strike. It will actually be to the limb and then in here, okay, into the L. But for the sake of the training, we're going to use this target here. Okay, this is a Fairbairn drill, and I'll show you the kind of application, and we'll do it on the pads. And it can be any sort of grip with this limb, or it could be holding a weapon. Okay, and the idea is you've turned round, swept the weapon out of the way, and then we strike. The target, basically the easiest one, is just the center of the limb. That'll work, okay? If I'm a bit off and I hit his bicep, that's fine. If I'm a bit off this way and I hit this muscle, there's a point in there which can numb the arm. It's all good, but I'm just aiming for the center. Okay, so that's the strike, straight into the L. Okay, I then change and then do a big strike here. Throat, philtrum, between the eyes. Whatever target you've got, to finishing blow, okay? do now is the technique called the wedge edge, and I'll just talk through that. So it's the same thing, it's going in to the throat with the web hand, but at the same time you cover yourself like this, in this position, elbow pointing, cover. Then as you do the grip and rip, you do an axe hand strike to the face. Okay, just the middle of the face. Two things together. So the wedge edge, which I've just described, the drill for it, or a drill for it, is to grab to the wrist like we did previously, and to do the accent to here. So it's as you hold here. Okay, one more time. Okay, so I've mentioned that we're striking the center of the limb here, and then the other target, what I call the L, the deadly L, this here on both sides. So we're striking in, I'm aiming into the L. If I get here, I'm getting the carotid sinus, that's great. Here, the mastoid process, that'll do. If I'm a bit too high, I'm going across the temple, I'm going to shake the brain. Okay, if I'm a bit too low here, I'm striking into the collarbone. Okay, so it's kind of an arrow leading me into the target to strike. Yep. An application of that striking arc to the side came from Marcus when he was flying. One of the situations was if you were seated, then and bad guys coming up the aisle, and the idea is to strike the bladder and groin area with an axe hand. I'll do it onto the pad to there. Okay. So, basically, usually folding, and then you can attack the head. Okay. The other thing you can do is in like headlock release, where someone's got you in a headlock and you're striking into the groin area or into the thigh area to get him to move his legs. Then you can attack the groin, grab, twist, pull. The axe hand, as taught in Combatives, is a formation like this, with the thumb tense back. Now, when I learnt the Stoll in Goju and in Shotokan, the thumb is in here. It's a small detail, but it does tend to sort of tense these muscles here. The important thing is to keep the fingers tight together. Otherwise, you can get a percussive fracture of the fingers. Okay, so keep your fingers tight together, keep them straight, keep all this rigid, and the elbow joint is loose. That's what we're working on. Okay, so that's the formation. Now, the body, most of the targets we use are smaller than the hand, so the hand, the edge of the hand fits on it quite well, the neck and so on. Okay, but most of our targets, our pads and so on, are big humanoid shapes, and just wait till that modest green taxi has gone past. And really we need an impact training target that reflects this. So I made this some time ago, and basically it's a couple of phone books. I know a lot of you wouldn't know what a phone book is, but it used to be a list of telephone numbers, and they were very thick. So a couple of them, some foam, and then a cylinder which was an old container made of plastic, and it's full of foam, and then yards of tape on the top. So it's basically more like a limb or like the side of the neck. Yep, and we can use that. So the drill, if you just want to come round, we can strike. When over in Sweden at Camp Get Tough, Mika, our late good friend, demonstrated axe hands on a canvas bag, and he struck it most impressively, and then he invited me to have a go, and I hit it, and I thought my hand and arm and shoulder had disintegrated like a cartoon cat. I thought it was filled with either foam or sand, but it was filled with gravel, and it was quite tough. So there are different methods of conditioning. You can use different types of equipment, and we also have a vertical tube that we use, and we'll demonstrate that now.